posing or are you a grill guy?
You know what an Italian barbecue is, Mike? Sausage and peppers and onions. That's what we barbecue.
In Chicago, come on now. I've been to a couple.
Yep, they got some good ones there.
I like being invited to those. Welcome.
You're always
PTI.
invited to the cookout.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Tony has forsaken you. So in addition to being invited to the barbecue, I'm joined happily by our great friend, fill-in Frank Isola.
Not grilling for
We're going to start with the end of Darvin Ham coaching the Lakers. The team reportedly fired him earlier today following the Lakers' first-round exit to the Nuggets. Ham went 90-74 during the regular season, and get this, 11-12 in the postseason during his 2 seasons in charge. 8 of those 12 losses were to Denver. Frank, what do you think of this move?
Yeah, not surprising. It's disappointing. I think Darvin Ham is not only a good guy, I think he's done a good job there. Remember, Mike, he took over a team that went 33-49 the year before he arrived. They then made the Western Conference Finals. That's pretty good. And like you mentioned, he lost to the Denver Nuggets, who then beat Miami and Eric Spoelstra in 5 games. Then they run into Denver again, and the Western Conference is really, really good. And their best player is 39 years old on the Lakers. It's hard to win when your best player is 39. But here's what I would do. We think that LeBron is going to be around for probably 2 more years. Just do what he wants at this point. Who do you want to be the coach? Who do you want on the team? This way, there's no confusion. This way, there's no passive-aggressive or comments to the media or cryptic tweets. Just do what LeBron wants. If he wants Ty Lue, it'll be hard to get him. Go pursue him. If it's not going to be him and he wants it to be his podcast partner, J.J. Redick, go get him. Do what LeBron wants.
You know what? I'm angry. I've known Darvin Ham for a long time. And you're right. He's a great guy. And he's a pretty damn good coach. Because he took a team that had done nothing the year before and missed the playoffs. And last year they got to the conference finals with him. And everybody had praise for him, including LeBron and Anthony Davis. And now all of a sudden I'm talking specifically to the 2 of them now. They blame him. Their public comments are inadequate. Let me just say this. If you want to be the GOAT, you want to tell everybody you're the GOAT, you're the greatest player of all time, you want to have it on podcasts, you want to have it, then take accountability like one. Do that. There's a social media thing out there now with Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. It shows them after they lost in a series. And it shows the determination. It shows them saying, nope, we weren't good enough. I wasn't good enough. There's been some of that, but there hasn't been nearly enough. If you're the GOAT, you do that. You don't blame this cryptically or backhandedly on Darvin Ham. I don't want to hear from anybody in a Laker uniform that the primary problem was Darvin Ham. Yes, LeBron and Anthony Davis were great in that series, but they weren't good enough against Denver. So take that on. GOAT carries responsibility. I don't see it in the firing of Darvin Ham. So go handpick somebody. They're not getting T. Lue. If you're the owner of the Clippers and you got way more money than the Lakers and just as much ego, you ain't letting T. Lue walk across when you got a new stadium and you got stars. You don't need them to go to him to go to the Lakers. This is infuriating that the hand is behind this move, Frank. It's just intellectually lazy and unaccountable. And those 2 guys are too great. They're Hall of Famers. You got to be better than that.
Yeah, well, Mike, let me ask you this. Okay, so you have a situation, and you hear from players all the time. They talk about opportunity. And you like to see a guy like Darvin Ham, former player, African-American, put in a lot of time as an assistant coach. How did you guys treat him his 2 years there? What about D'Angelo Russell eating at the end of the bench during a timeout? Are you really giving Darvin Ham a fair shot here? And to say that he didn't do a good job, they made the conference finals. You lost to a better team. Jamal Murray this year needed to hit 2 late-game shots to beat you. You're losing to the best team and the best player.
You played hard. Was it enough? Are there moral victories in professional sports at this level? No. But okay, you played the champs as well as you could play them with this roster. And then this, and before that, there was blaming of Darvin Ham. I went across and said to him as somebody who's known Darvin Ham about 30 years, maybe not quite that long, hey, hang in there. This is inexcusable, the blaming of Darvin Ham. Let's move to the Knicks, edging the Sixers, Game 6, and another epic game to push Philly out of the playoffs. Jalen Brunson scored 41, including 14 in the fourth quarter, to lift New York into the second round. Joel Embiid had 39 and 13 in a losing cause. Frank, what does this result say about each of these teams?
Can you see behind me? They're still dancing in the street in New York. Jalen Brunson was absolutely outstanding.
Yes,
12 made field goals, 12 made free throws, and 12 assists. That's been done 10 times in NBA playoff history. And Jalen Brunson, a former second-round pick. And that last assist that he got, Mike, and you've seen this throughout the years, because there's a guy in Chicago that used to do this. He would dominate the game by scoring. But late in the game, when everyone's focused on him, what does he do? He draws the defense in. He passes it to Josh Hart. There's a lot of great players in the NBA. I'll give you two up in Boston. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. In that situation, a lot of times they'll take fadeaway contested jumpers. That's what you love about Jaylen Brown. He uplifts the team. He has confidence in guys. Josh Hart was tremendous last night. Great offensive rebound. That is an unbelievable win for the New York Knicks. And let's face it, Jalen Brunson's had a breakout year, Mike. He's had a breakout playoff as well. Incredible.
Listen, the series he had, when you start talking about Jordan and Oscar, seriously, it speaks for itself. And I'm glad you started with him. You know, the fact that I can even sort of want the Knicks to win anything is based on having that Chicago anchor in their backcourt.
Exactly.
But let me go to Philly for a second. I got nothing but admiration today for Joel Embiid. Respect and admiration for the way he played and the way he conducted himself after the game. And they put up the fight. I mean, they put up a great fight. Was it adequate? No. Frank, I don't know what it means for the Sixers going forward because Joel Embiid has this happen. I'm talking about the physical challenges every year. These are real challenges. I mean, the meniscus injury, Bell's palsy, these guys, sprains, these are real. But they don't allow him to be what he wants to be in May and into June. They don't. And so Maxey, who didn't have a game last night, so people need to chill with the whole notion of, is he going to be the face of the league? Let's just get through a playoff series. It's hard to play multiples and back-to-backs. You don't just do that. But, man, I got nothing but admiration for Joel Embiid, for the way the Sixers played. But the Knicks with my man Brunson, my goodness. Frank, I'm going to say something that may be blasphemous here. You've been watching Knicks basketball more closely. I've been watching maybe a little longer. But isn't he an all-time Knick already? Okay, it's only two postseasons, maybe not. But, Frank, another series or two like this, his name is up there on the marquee with the greats, and that's why they get such a thrill out of coming to the Garden to watch them and specifically him.
Yeah, and he's doing it with all role players. Let's remember that. One thing about Philly, they have a good opportunity here because the money of Tobias Harris comes off the books. There's been talk about them getting Paul George, Jimmy Butler. I'd be careful about getting older players. I mean, think about where Steph Curry is right now, Kevin Durant, even LeBron James. But you mentioned Embiid. And one thing about Embiid, he could take the next 2 months off. And as you know, he's on the U.S. Olympic team. I don't know if you heard about it, but that we got him in the international basketball transfer portal, Mike. We have now Embiid. We're not going to beat teams by 25. We're going to beat them by 30.
He can't do that.
But here's the thing, Mike. If he does show up and he'll be around LeBron and Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, you watch the way that those guys work, because the big thing with him is he needs to get in better shape. Tim Duncan made a concession to age and lost a little bit of weight here because he had knee issues.
He did.
That's going to be the big thing for Embiid because he just needs to get in better shape. I understand he has an excuse this year, but Mike, too many fourth quarters over the years in the playoffs, he looks run down. And Hart and Brunson, and what we hear about Thibodeau plays these guys too many minutes, they look pretty fresh last night. I'll say that. All right. The Bucks also got bounced from the postseason last night. Indiana jumped ahead early, and they never looked back, eventually winning by 22. As the game wound down, Patrick Beverley was spotted firing a ball toward a spectator and later barring an ESPN producer from his postgame media session because she didn't subscribe to his podcast, if you could believe that. Mike, what do you think of how the Bucks went out, and where does this leave them going forward?
I know where it better leave Patrick Beverley. It better leave him gone for a long time. And the league office better have the stomach for it. You don't throw a ball into a stands and hit a patron. You don't do it. There's zero tolerance for that. That starts with Adam Silver and whoever's helping make the decisions, Joe Dumars. You can't have that. And then he fired it back a second time.
That's right.
That's suspension, a long one. So let's start there. So this goes, we talk about teams in the future who is tied to, Philly's tied to Joel Embiid, and they got to deal with the injuries. Well, Milwaukee's tied to Giannis Antetokounmpo in his injury situation.
Yep.
It's back-to-back years. What does that mean? And so, Giannis also has gotten 2 coaches fired now. Okay, so it's going to have to be, he's going to have to be accountable for his situation. Off season or whatever that means, and then coming into the season and coming back to a team. And listen, they're old. I don't know that they're good enough, Frank. And so Giannis is going to have to deal with something other than getting a coach fired or getting involved with whoever is going to be next, whatever that is. And he and presumably Doc Rivers and Dame Lillard are going to have to be on the same page. They got some talent, some veteran talent. We've seen them win. But this is about Giannis going forward. In Indy, we got time to praise. We do.
Yeah, Melinda Adams, she's a producer. She tweeted out that Patrick Beverley had called her and apologized, and she accepted the apology. Meanwhile, for Giannis, so last year he only appeared in 2 playoff games. They lost both of them. This year he didn't appear in any. So he hasn't won a playoff game now in 3 years. So all season long, Mike, I did it. I'm sure you did it. The key to the Bucks will be Chris Middleton and how he plays and if he's healthy.
Yeah.
Well, he was healthy, and he played well. The problem with Giannis, and here's what happened to the Bucks last year. He was hurt, and they overreacted to losing. And it started with Budenholzer. It started with trading Drew Holiday. Now they keep trying to catch up for all the mistakes that they keep making. I love Giannis. He's not a great GM, though. So you can't allow players all the time to kind of hijack the franchise and say, we need to do this, we need to do that, because he's got them in a bad place right now, and he never plays. So we talk about Kawhi, like you mentioned. We talk about Embiid. He has not played in a winning playoff game in 3 postseasons. It's almost hard to believe.
Pacers are fun to watch. If they get better defensively, and it's incremental now. Well, I don't know what it means for the next round against the Knicks, but
it'll be fun.
They're getting fun to watch, man.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. But coming up, the Maple Leafs force a Game 7 themselves with the Bruins. Who's got the edge tomorrow night in Boston?
And tonight, Mike's going to be over it, all over it. The Magic of the Clippers on their own. Toss-up is next.
Can't wait to watch. It's just injuries. Injuries are controlling sports. Not just the NBA.
Pardon the interruption.
Bank Franklin, toss-up. What's first?
Toss-up. Who do you favor in tomorrow's Game 7? Maple Leafs or Bruins?
Oh, Frank, history's working against both teams. I know Boston is sort of like, for the last 5. Boston, blew it last year when they were the President's Trophy team entering the playoffs with the most number of regular season points. And then Toronto loses, however, to Boston all the time. Since 1959, I think it is the last time Toronto beat Boston in the playoff series. And Toronto just since 1967 can't do anything. They are the new Red Sox and Cubs or Knicks. But I'm going to say Boston's going to win. I'm going to say Boston home ice is going to pull it together, get it together, and win Game 7, even though I'm rooting for Toronto.
So either Boston is going to blow a 3-1 series lead or Toronto is going to lose their 6th straight Game 7. That's almost hard to believe. One thing to remember about the Maple Leafs, Austin Matthews, it doesn't look like he's going to be available. Willie Nylander came back. He missed the first 3 games. Do you know that the 2 of them, Matthews and Nylander, missed a combined total of 2 games during the regular season? They've yet to play in the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying. Injuries and illness is controlling the entire sports landscape, Frank.
But, Mike, that's a team built around offense, and they've only scored more than 2 goals in one of the games. They're winning now with defense. I'm going to give them a little bit of an edge, even on the road in a Game 7.
I would like to see that. What's next?
Toss-up. More likely to force a Game 7 in tonight's NBA playoffs, the Magic or the Clippers?
I think the Magic. Frank, look, I don't put it past the Clippers. As sorry as they looked the other night, as just sort of disinterested as they looked the other night, they are playing with Hall of Famers, although Kawhi Leonard will not be there again, apparently. They could win 1 game even on the road. I don't trust them to win 2. But I'm going with Orlando. Orlando came into the playoffs looking like they didn't know what the playoffs were about because they didn't know what the playoffs were about. They weren't ready for this, and Cleveland was. I think Orlando's going to have the best player on the court tonight. I think they do in this series. I think Orlando playing at home forces this back to Cleveland. And I think Orlando's going to win this series, even though they got themselves together after losing a couple of games on the road.
Yeah, I like Dallas going into this series. I didn't like the way they played in Game 1. Kawhi's not going to play tonight. The Clippers look old. In 3 of the losses that they've had so far, Mike, didn't even score 94 points. So they struggle offensively, so I don't have a lot of
do.
faith in them. But you're right about Orlando. And Paulo Banchero, not a lot of people have been paying attention
best player
to.
on the court.
He has been excellent. He's been really good. And Cleveland may not have Jared Allen. He's got a rib issue. And you know what's interesting about Cleveland? They win tonight. They got to turn around and play a 1 o'clock game on Sunday against Boston. So win or lose, Cleveland's going to be in a tough position. I understand they want to win, but I agree with you. I think Orlando's going to win tonight at home.
Orlando, a mystery to most people. Watch tonight, and they will be less of a mystery.
You're right about Franz Wagner, too. Excellent player.
Two terrific players, young players in Orlando. That's it. We're taking one last break. But still to come, Caitlin Clark is just hours away from being back on the basketball court.
And reports say OBJ will be wearing a new uniform next season. Jets or Giants?
A new uniform every season.
He wants to play in New York.
He's a one-year rental. He's 1 year and out everywhere, one and done.
Kind of true. Kind of true.
4th birthday tomorrow to Dawn Staley. She has so much to celebrate, starting with her 3rd NCAA title. 3rd, which her South Carolina Gamecocks won just last month over Caitlin Clark in Iowa. Before coaching basketball, Staley played it at an elite level. 5-time WNBA All-Star, won 3 Olympic gold medals, and as a college player, was twice the National Player of the Year while leading the Virginia Cavaliers to 3 Final Fours and 1 NCAA final. I was lucky to get to watch some of those at courtside. At every level, Frank, Dawn Staley has been fueling the rise of women's basketball.
Yeah, she's a Philadelphia basketball legend, no question about it. She spent 8 years at Temple as the coach there.
Yes.
6 times they made the tournament. She's been at South Carolina since 08-09. First 2 years, losing seasons. All she's done since then is win. Last 2 years, 76-1. Of course, the one loss
great
to
for
Iowa,
basketball
Caitlin Clark
in
last
general.
year.
In general, love Dawn Staley. Yep. Happy anniversary to the Warriors on this day 17 years ago. Golden State became the first 8 seed to take out a number 1 seed in a 7-game series when they blew out the Mavs to win in 6. Before the Splash Brothers, the Warriors were led by a deep and talented roster that included Steven Jackson, Baron Davis, Jason Richardson, Matt Barnes, Monte Ellis, and Al Harrington. This upset led Dirk Nowitzki to famously having to accept the MVP award after his Dallas team had been eliminated. It was sort of humbling, Frank.
Yeah, and you remember back then, Mike, the idea was, can Dirk Nowitzki ever lead a team to a championship after he got eliminated in the first round? Also, another good side note, Don Nelson was coaching the Warriors, and Don Nelson had the famous falling out with Mark Cuban before going back to Golden State.
A lot of storylines in that series. Yep. It was interesting for a first rounder. Happy trails to last night's game in the 6th inning for Nathan Eovaldi. The Rangers ace left last night's win over the Nationals in the 6th with what's being described as a right growing tightness and is slated for an MRI. Eovaldi had given up no runs, just 2 hits, struck out 8 when he left the game. Manager Bruce Bochy said he wanted to play it safe and take care of him. Eovaldi became the Champs' top starter last season after Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer was sidelined with injuries. That duo has yet to pitch this season.
Man, it's hard to win when you don't have a pitching staff. Eovaldi last year, think about the season he had, Mike. 12-5 in the regular season. Then he won 5 of his 6 starts in the playoffs, including 2 against Houston in the ALCS. He was pretty good in the playoffs last year.
Frank, I know they're great games. We are just so preoccupied. We're weighed down with injuries. Every sport, every day. Goodness.
Overtraining.
No errors today. We don't have that. I even got this injury, but it's getting better. Running out of show. Let's go to the big finish. NHL playoffs tonight. Which team is more likely to force a 7? Preds or Knights?
I mean, the Golden Knights are the defending champs. They're at home, but they better get to Dallas Stars goalie Jake Ottinger early. How about this, Mike? In the 3rd period overtime, he has faced 55 shots. He has stopped every single
11th in a row tonight. You like their chances?
This is a great story. They started 7-13, and how about this? 3 of their last 5 wins, they have scored double-digit runs. I like the Twins tonight. I think they'll be okay.
Right.
We're out of time. Thanks for watching. I'm Frank Isola.
The Twins will do it and I'll play in the White Sox. I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great weekend, knuckleheads. Oh, by the way, you can catch